such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time as This Live. We're going to add to our repertoire of For Such a Time as This Live. We're also streaming on multiple platforms right now. Again, this is the first time in, I want to say, almost 2 years we're doing this. And we're going to do it, start off with the End Times update on September 16th. For those who are on YouTube, you can type in your questions and we will do our best to answer it. As always, I'm with Rick. Rick, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Pastor.
So we are going to, as for those of you who don't know, the End Time Prophecies and Middle East Wars, the End Time updates, what we do is we go over the new newsworthy items in the Middle East, specifically the wars that Israel engaged in, and then we, at the end, we discuss a spiritual topic developed around eschatology or the end times. So Rick is going to lead us through the updates, and then we'll discuss. Today we will discuss the epoch theory, the theory that in the first 2 chapters of the book of Revelation, they're not only churches of the time, but they're also what do you want to call it, Rick? Time periods of the church throughout the last 2 generations.
Yeah, time periods of the church age, from the Pentecost to the beginning of the tribulation.
But before we get to that discussion at the end, let us start with the update. Here's the first update in the Middle East.
In the shadow of the preparations for the conquest of Gaza City and the attempts to evacuate the population from it, the IDF continues to hit high-rise buildings and other infrastructure that is useful. The IDF spokesperson declared over the weekend that the entire city is a dangerous combat zone from which evacuation might take place immediately. The IDF also announced that it completed 5 waves of strikes in Gaza City as part of Operation Gideon's Chariots B, in which more than 500 targets were attacked. In parallel, preparations continue for a ground incursion while attempting to evacuate civilians to the south of the Strip due to the congestion in the El Mawasi area. And meanwhile, Israel's other fronts.
All right.
So Israel is full steam ahead on the Gaza destruction of Hamas and their infrastructure. They have, I just saw this on another video, that they have destroyed over 300 buildings, businesses, and homes trying to defeat Hamas. So right now they're destroying the large buildings which Hamas has used to spy, for snipers, and to shoot at Israel. And they're running scared.
Who's running Hamas?
Hamas is running scared.
But they've been running scared for years now.
I know. And this is their last stronghold, supposedly.
Okay. All right. Here's a second update from the Middle East.
For the past week, military analysts around the world have been trying to figure out how Israel managed to hit a target in Doha, Qatar, which is by some of the world's most advanced air defensive systems. Over the weekend, the Wall Street Journal news portal published a report with the explanation that Israel sent 12 Air Force aircrafts, 8 of them F-15s and another 4 F-35s, and launched ballistic missiles into space, flying in outer space over Saudi Arabia before coming back down and hitting the villa in Doha. According to the latest assessments, none of the senior Hamas leaders who were the targets of the attack were eliminated, although some were severely wounded and will probably be out of action for the foreseeable future. However, in the past it was reported that the Rampage missile can be launched from a fighter jet at a distance of 150 kilometers, thus complicating the enemy's detection and interception systems. If indeed the missile was launched from the Red Sea, a distance of 1,500 kilometers from Doha, Qatar, as reported in the Wall Street Journal, it could actually be a missile from the Ankor family, whose capabilities have not been published publicly until now. Such a missile does not even need an explosive warhead in order to cause damage because of its closing speed on the target. It destroys it by the kinetic impact itself. Ground-launched ballistic missiles and surface-to-surface missiles are used by many armies around the world and also by terrorist organizations like the Houthi rebel group in Yemen. So two cruise missiles and also UAVs, but ballistic missiles launched from aircrafts are unique, and according to past reports, are in the hands of only a few armies in the entire world, including Russia, China, and Israel. Here at TBN Israel, we'll continue to update you on everything that's happening on the ground here.
Again, this is our first time going live in some time, so there may be some technical difficulties. Rick, explain what's going on with these airplanes.
Well, ballistic missiles are usually shot from a stationary point on the ground. What's interesting about this, these ballistic missiles are fired from a jet up in the sky, which is only China and U.S. and Russia, I think, are capable of this. So very few nations can do this. And what's about the ballistic missile, what it does, it goes up into the stratosphere and then comes back down. And as it falls, it reaches hypersonic speed, and just the kinetic energy alone can destroy whatever it's hit at. But, I mean, the technology, the accuracy, very, very, very impressive. So, however, the United States has their largest military base in the Middle East at Qatar. And what's interesting, did the United States know about this? Did they notify? We'll talk about that later on, too. So, interesting.
Here's our next update.
Israel is gearing up for Phase 2 of Operation Gideon's Chariots to take over Gaza City. They've been urging the civilians to leave for weeks now. So far, 320,000 people have left the city, with 20,000 fleeing overnight just last night. Many more people would have left by now if Hamas had not been forcing them to stay. They were even setting up checkpoints on the city limits to make sure that no one leaves. Because if there are no civilians there, then no human shields, and the IDF would be able to wipe them out so much easier. But now Hamas is trying to use the hostages as well for human shields. Khan News reported that they were now being moved above ground, with Palestinian sources reporting that some were being held in houses and some in tents. The pressure is on Hamas. Their leadership was just destroyed in Qatar. Israel is destroying terror site after terror in Gaza. The IDF has hit over 500 terror targets in Gaza City in recent days, including multiple high-rise buildings, which I'm sure you've seen lots of footage. Now, with Israel on the final push to destroy the last major stronghold of Gaza, Hamas is pulling out the hostages in an attempt to either, number one, use them as human shields, or number two, to get a ceasefire deal back on the table, which would be amazing for them. And speaking of a ceasefire, Qatar has announced that they're ready to reopen negotiation talks, with Trump saying this.
My message is this: they have to be very, very careful. They have to do something about Hamas. But Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. A lot of people don't know that. I told the Emir, who I think is a wonderful person, actually, I said, you need better public relations, because you don't really get the public relations. I mean, people talk of it so badly, and they shouldn't be. Qatar's been a very great ally. So Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful.
So they've been such a great ally, right, Rick?
Yeah, we could spend the whole rest of time just on that comment by President Trump. But the thing about moving the citizens out of Gaza. Hamas is shooting people in the knees to keep them from going, and they're even killing them to try and keep them from leaving the city, because they say,
Really, Rick?
they say the citizens, it is your right to die so we can promote our ideology. So they don't care about their citizens.
Really?
The other thing about that is they say Israel is trying to kill off all the Palestinians. Well, they could have done that. They took care of Iran in 12 days. If they wanted to destroy all of Gaza, they could have done that in 1 week. But they're letting there's over 1.5 million people fleeing the city of Gaza. So if Israel's committing genocide, why are they letting all these people out? And then we come to President Trump's comments that Qatar is, they're the greatest. Qatar, they're
Ally.
bad news. Now, they're our ally because our largest military base in the Middle East is in the middle of Qatar, and that is good for us. But Qatar, they directly fund Hamas. They directly fund terrorism. They've put in millions and millions of dollars into our universities to, to hate Israel and destroy Israel. And the Muslim Brotherhood, whom they support, is throughout our entire government. So politically, we need the base in Qatar, but outside of that, they are not our friend.
Okay.
A lot of geopolitical.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand Trump with Qatar. I don't understand it. But hey.
Well, if we're not there, then it's going to be Russia or China. That's
with Qatar, you're saying?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a two-edged sword. I mean, it is what it is, but that's the situation.
All right. Here's the next update.
The United Nations General Assembly on Friday overwhelmingly endorsed a declaration outlining, quote, tangible, time-bound, and irreversible steps to promote a Palestinian state. 142 countries voted in favor of this declaration, and 10 voted against, among them, of course, being the United States and Israel. Yes, you heard that right. 142 countries actually want to reward terrorism and create a Palestinian state. This declaration also calls for a, quote, collective action to end the war in Gaza to achieve a just, peaceful, and lasting settlement of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict based on the effective implementation of the two-state solution. All of this comes ahead of the UN summit that is happening in New York on September 22nd, co-hosted by Saudi Arabia and France, where Britain, France, Canada, Australia, and Belgium, among others, are expected to formally recognize a state.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
Are these guys living in this world?
Here we go again.
Looks like this Gaza situation, two-state solution, doesn't this look like a booming success to you, Pastor? Booming success.
They're doing it again. I don't think they will accept it. And why do I say it? Because they have rejected it over and over and over again. Yet, for some reason, they keep doing it. I think there's some spiritual blindness obviously going on.
Oh, obviously.
Obviously. But they're doing it again. Here we go again.
So.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Two-state solution. All right. Last and final update. Updated clip. Here we go.
There's no reference to the simple fact that Hamas is solely responsible for the continuation of the war through its refusal to return the hostages and disarm. The resolution does not advance a solution of peace. On the contrary, it encourages Hamas to continue the war. Something to note is that this upcoming summit in New York is set to take place the exact same day that Rosh Hashanah actually starts here in Israel. Rosh Hashanah is the new year here in Israel, but it's also known as the Day of Judgment, when everyone's names are either written in the Book of Life or they're not. To me, it feels like the line between good and evil is becoming crystal clear. The choice to be on the right side of history has never been so obvious. In the days leading up to Rosh Hashanah, let's make that choice to stand for what is right, for what is holy, for what is true.
Now that guy, is he Orthodox or is he Christian?
He's Christian.
Okay.
Messianic Jew.
Messianic Jew. Okay.
So, but this thing about Gaza, Zephaniah chapter 2 is specifically states that Gaza will be a grazing land.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks like Israel's on their way to helping
fulfilling that
prophecy.
Okay. Wow. Okay. All right. So here we go. Again, this is our first time going live, and there's a lot of technical things going on. Hopefully it's coming through just fine, and we'll get better as time goes on. All right, now, this is the time in which we actually transition to our spiritual discussion to end our time. We're going to discuss, right now, the epoch theory. For those who don't know, the epoch theory is the theory that the first chapters 2 and 3, they not only represent churches on the earth at the time John writes the book of Revelation, but it also depicts the larger characteristics of the visible church for the last 2,000 years. Because if anyone is to read the book of Laodicea, the last one in chapter 3 of Revelation, that church of Laodicea perfectly describes the church as a whole, the visible church.
The visible church.
Today. Oh my. So, Rick, you're going to walk us through the book of Ephesus, which is the first one to explain more in detail how the text gives hints and clues that it is, in fact, representative of the church ages for the last 2,000 years.
I'll be glad to do that, Pastor.
Right. Here's the first one, Revelation 2:1.
So, to the angel of the church in Ephesus write, the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. The reason I think there should be an emphasis on the epoch age is, yes, there are individual admonitions to each individual church, but these perfectly describe Revelation is an apocalyptic book.
Yes.
And it's the culmination of good versus evil,
yes,
and the ushering in of the millennium and the new heavens and the new earth. So in the context of all of Revelation, I think this needs to be taken seriously. So there's a pattern in each of these messages to the churches. The first one here, it says, to the angel of the church in Ephesus. All the churches are addressed by an angel. Some people want to change that to messenger. Or
is it addressed to the angel
of the church?
To
the angel of the church
in Ephesus. So Jesus is speaking to the angel at the church?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Okay.
That word translated angel, the Greek word, 81 times it's translated angel, only 4 times is it translated messenger. So if this was just an individual church, I think it is the emphasis is on the church age.
Yeah, it's a strange way to refer to it as an angel if it's a human pastor or a human leader.
All right.
It is, yeah.
Then what's also interesting on all these messages to the churches, there's also, in the greeting, there's a description of Christ. In this emphasis, it's the words of him who holds the 7 stars in his right hand, who walks among the 7 golden lampstands. So the lampstands represent the churches. So Christ is walking in and through his church for the entire church age period. He's involved in the whole church age.
It's characteristics of the church age, but he doesn't walk through the lampstands for the entire, because I think the first epoch ends at 100 AD, right? Christ is crucified.
Right. So this is just
not through the whole golden lampstand. And he doesn't walk among the 7. Here's the thing: he doesn't walk specifically in Asia Minor. He doesn't do that either.
right.
But it's characteristic of the first generation church. I see it. Yeah. Mm.
So then there's always an admonitioner. I know thy works. So let's go to. So I know your works, your
toil and your patient endurance, and how you cannot bear with those who are evil, but have tested those who call themselves apostles and are not, and found them to be false. I know you are enduring patiently and bearing up for my name's sake, and you have not grown weary.
So it's interesting that the apostles are mentioned in this first admonition to the church. Ephesus means desirable, and the first 100 years of the church age was the spreading of the gospel throughout Israel, Judea, Samaria, and Asia. So I know your works, and so this is an admonition to spread the gospel from an eschatological point of view that's pointing to the starting and emphasizing the building of God's kingdom on earth.
And also the apostles, or the issue of true apostles versus false apostles, are there. That only happened in the first generation church. That this epoch, this time period, this is the only time period in which the apostles, the false and the true ones, is dealt with throughout the church age. Right, and then you have verse 7 here.
Verse 7, each one of these messages to the churches ends with a description of Christ or promises and blessings that are associated with the millennial or the new heavens and the new earth. So it is, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To the one who conquers, I will give to eat of the tree of life, which is the paradise of God. And we do know in the new heavens and the new earth that the tree of life that was in the Garden of Eden now appears in God's paradise.
That's Revelation 22, is it?
Yes, Revelation 22. So just these, I'm just going to read a summary of the admonition of the messages. So this message says to he who has an ear, to the one who conquers. This admonition is to all the 7 churches, to the one who conquers. So here in Ephesus, it's to eat of the tree of life, which is in paradise. The next church is the second death has no power over you. The third church, you will partake of the hidden manna and receive a new name. Fourth, tribulation saints will rule with Christ's authority over the nations. The saints will be clothed in white garments. With the next church, it will not be blotted out of the book of life. And the last one, I will make him a pillar in God's temple, and he will have God's name and Jerusalem's name written on him. So because of the descriptions given in the greetings and to the one who conquers, the emphasis is on the church age, not each individual church. However, there are characteristics of all churches. All churches in the church age has some or all these characteristics, but I think the emphasis should be put on the church ages leading up to the tribulation and the issuing or entering into the millennium and new heaven and new earth.
Yeah, and as you look throughout the seven churches, the references he uses, dressed in white, conquers. I think it's all preparing the church throughout the millennium to go into the 7-year tribulation, which all things are completed. Yeah, I think the emphasis is on the end times. Again, why write this in the book of Revelation if it's not pointing toward the end times? Why not, if it's written to these 7 churches specifically and only, then why not just write the letters and distribute it to those churches like Paul did in Ephesus or Corinth, right? Why is this encompassed within the book of Revelation? Because I think John is using not only the churches at the time, but he's using the churches throughout for the 2,000-year history to bring us into the 7-year tribulation to prepare for the millennial kingdom. That's the way I read it. So
they're both there, but I think the emphasis is on the
Correct.
church age.
I would agree with that. All right, thank you all for being with us. Our first live program in some time. We're going to try to do this on Tuesday mornings, and we welcome all questions, comments. Thank you all. Until next time. Rick, thank you. Until next time.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.